Alright, oh, I don't have my... There we go. Why is it, there it is. Okay, so... I am gonna get started here with some clear blue to start the party. Now that my airbrush is out of commission right now, it was like super rage-inducing while I was trying to prime the next two miniatures today. I know I said we were gonna do Aragorn and Boromir, but I just wasn't happy. I primed those prints and I don't think they look good. So the prints that I'm working on now, I did when I switched over. I was trying different resin and my settings didn't translate, and so the ones that I sent off to Stuart were different than these. But so anyway, I ended up priming Sauron and Gollum. So those will be the next two that we're working on. But for now, I'm just going to take clear blue and apply it to the whole of the sword here, like so, utilizing the zenithal in the middle. Okay. Then I'm going to take the same color, very thin, and we are going to apply it really on a lot of these surfaces here. So I'm doing the top of the arm. And do keep in mind, right, like I said, this is very thin work. And I really would preferably airbrush these portions, but today we don't really have that option. I am putting some on the left-hand side of the face here. Not a lot, since I don't know sort of like what my contrast is yet. But you can see, very slight. But everything we're doing, mostly water. Let that dry. Oop, I need to bridge the top here. And this is also why, remember, we didn't highlight up certain parts of the mini either. It was because, right, we knew we were going to have the glow of the sword. Already messed up the face there, so get some skin tone out. Just kind of glazing on top where it went across too far there. Hey, World Edit, long time no see. So I'm just going to be adding a little bit more blue. I'll do a little bit on the bridge of the nose here. Or, well, like this part of the nose. Okay. Important to remember as well, right? Like we're tinting the darkest color before highlighting anything up, so edges, things like that will of course be highlighted up with the blue, so it's kind of like us just mapping out where we can expect those colors to exist, type of thing. Alright. Ah, well. Hope that's going well for you. Okay. All right, so I'm all right with what we got so far. So now I have brilliant blue, and this is going to be what I'm mixing into the clear blue. They're pretty much very similar. I'm going to add a brush tip of white. So this is going to be sort of like our base color that we're using to build things up, and I need it to be very, very thin so we can glaze it. So lots of water. I do need all this to dry though. Test this out here. Going from the edge of the blade. Kind of think like the Batman Batarang. That's like the best way for me to kind of describe the highlight shape that we're going for. So that looks pretty good. Comparing it, I mean, it looks super similar, right, to what we had before, but that's what you want. You want to be able to start from a position that you already have, so to speak. Now, if you're airbrushing, you could go brighter and just hit it from the beginning, right in the middle there, and then do a little bit of that same brighter color in that area, obviously from that direction. So now I'm going to take this color and start hitting any of our edges that are facing the sword. So like the top of the handle, top of the fingers, edge. Okay. whenever I do OSL2, I always keep it illustrative, right? Like, some angles I'll end up highlighting anyway, even though they wouldn't necessarily be getting it. Sometimes highlighting something that, like, would technically be in shadow, whenever it's something small. I mean, obviously this is a larger scaled miniature, but you just have to think about it reading well from a distance, right? And that's one way to kind of make sure you're able to do that, is by doing edges or anything that would be picking up the color that you're using, and just going from there. That way too, it helps you refine a lot easier. But you can see it building up. And depending on how much we build it up too, right, we'll be able to go back in later in the process and apply more of the clear blue tint to things, depending on where on the body it is, all that good stuff. The material, etc. Going down the edge there. And making sure to hit like where the reflective points are on the hair as well. So like where we did the highlights on that side, I would want them to be tinted with the blue. I feel like down here may potentially get some too. Okay. I don't know where there is. Piece of blue tack stuck on my phone. All right, so I also have a teal out here. So that will be mixed in at, oh, I already have it out. But, so this is a Pathfinder color just because I had it and I like am really bad at mixing a teal. So this is close to like the GW whatever oxide color, but I know there are plenty of similar colors. But I'm going to add a brush tip of that and then a brush tip of white every time we're getting brighter now. Because I don't want just like light blue, right? That's not really gonna do it for us. I would rather it kind of shift in into a different color, right? Like a green or something. Okay. It's very thin here. Let me, there we go, change the focal length. I'm gonna go for the interior little edge. So this will be a good way for you to kind of like judge how far to take it down. And then I'm going to do the same length here, the edges of the blade. And then bridging the two, you can literally just take the brush like so, and just gently taper it in. Paint, of course, has to be very thin. So that's a good base on that side. We're going to go on this side. And I like the idea of the light sort of coming from like the mid portion of the blade, and not just like the base or the top or whatever, because you could obviously select like different parts to kind of section it out. And this doesn't have to be perfect, because you can you know, we're gonna glaze it to like mix them. This is just us getting the color in there, and then we'll do the same thing for whatever color comes next, right? So that way we can just like carefully build it up. Alright, so that side's cool for now. This side looks pretty good too. Okay, so now we can move on to everything else. So just like we did last time, right? I'm looking at edges, things that would be catching the light. I would say about that far back. Maybe. I mean, we could potentially take the color further back here. And then I'll do this on the tips with this color. So like wherever we were having our hair reflections, I will go in and add this brighter tone. Obviously much further back than any of the other reflections we have, but I would assume the hair is like greasy, right? So the reflection should be much brighter. If we were imagining his face was like ultra sweaty or something like that, then, you know, the colors could exist too. A little bit more, but who makes the Lord of the Rings figures? These are R&E Studio. You can buy these directly from my shop. These are scaled up 150% as well, so these are the third scale option. Okay. We'll go a little bit brighter further down, and then we'll just glaze it back. I feel like that's probably a safe enough decision. A little bit here on the edge. Okay, so now we're going to go back down a color. Pretty much just clear blue. And I just have it off to the right, nothing special. This is where I want to taper this color in more. This is where I was saying, right, like I didn't know how far I wanted to take the deeper blue, just so I could get it to make a little bit more sense. Anywhere that may be too bright, I'm able to go in and just glaze on top. It won't really darken it per se like black, but it will desaturate that brightness that we had there. I also want to add some here. Just a little bit. If you scale it up 50%, so you mean 150%, or you scale it down 50%. Okay. Same thing on this side. You know what, I'm just gonna glaze over that again. I feel like it was too much, so we'll just try again. Do a little bit more. Going back to that highlight color here. Now I'm happy with everything else though, so it's really just the blade that we're gonna be working on. Should dry pretty quickly here, it's almost dry. I feel like I just went a little bit too bright, too quick, that's all. But that is also most likely the result of me adding the teal and the white, right? Both of those at the same time. A little bit more of a jump. Oh yeah, this is good now, okay. Let's do the whole center of the blade. I feel like that makes a lot more sense. Go back on this side. Hit these edges here, should be a little bit brighter. Taper in longer strokes, shorter in the middle, and then back to being long, up towards the center. Paint is much thinner this time around, so I'm just building it in. We can go ahead and do the whole entire edge of the blade. This color seems about right. Let's see, I need this to be brighter. I know we'll be doing OSL for the Patreon stuff for June. So definitely give that a look if you haven't. And then the Patreon stuff from last week also. And not necessarily OSL, but it was lighting from below. I have all the assets made for the new releases for the shop. I just need to sit and do it all. It takes hours of work, so whenever I get a chance, it'll be done. I always feel a ton of pressure at the beginning of the month to get that done. The combination of like seeing if I've lost money on Patreon, and then like what my new monthly income is, and then like waiting for all of the 3D printing people to release their stuff, and then having to make all of it and then update it. It is so much work. All right. Nah, we're not gonna do it because we just have too much to do because I need to start the other two today. So I would like to do that, but I kind of like have to finish two in 2 sessions is kind of like what I'm supposed to be doing. And the more I delay finishing them every single time, the worse off it is for me, because it means then people can't be caught up, and I need people to be caught up, otherwise all of these stop. So that's not going to be good for me at all. Unfortunately, I would like to do more, but I am constrained. Alright, so I'm going to get a little bit brighter just for the very center of the sword, that's it. Pretty much just like that. I want it to be bright. I may have to layer that in a couple times, but I mean, that looks pretty good. I'll do a little bit more over here. Cool. I like that. Okay, so now what? If we're gonna do eyes, I need black and white. So we already have white, so I get some noir black. Okay. And I'll do this off camera just because it is a pain to do far away. I can't really do it. But luckily with these sculpts, the eyes are so big, right? But when they're scaled up like we're working on them now, not too bad. Sam wasn't too bad, so. Okay. So we got the black. You know what, let's do black buttons for his jacket here. Or vest, I suppose. Since I was like, kind of like, oh, those should be separated out. Alright, so then now, a little bit of white. And it is mixed a little bit with blue, just because I feel like out of the periphery, it probably is picking up some of that color, especially that left eye, but... Not great. All right. If I can't get the corner technique to work right, where you do 2 dots in the corners with white, leaving the black in the middle, then I always just paint it white straight up, and then I do the dot myself, right? And that usually is always much easier. So there you go. So I went back over it with white. And then we'll do, I don't know, we'll do him looking off to the left. I feel like that makes the most sense. So very carefully here. Passable eyes. Passable eyes for me. I feel like they are a little bit bright, but we can just like fake glaze something in there. I just took some of the blue. You can't even tell. Okay. Okay, so now I really, you still can't tell. All right, the camera's white balance is like not gonna pick it up. But all right, cool. I would say these two are good to go. So there you go, Sam and Frodo, boom. All right, let's move on. So now I'm gonna need a lot of Noir Black as we begin to work on Sauron here. And then we also have our awesome Gollum mini. So I'm gonna be taking Noir Black, and this is going to be pretty much an all-over glaze on everything. So I'm going to take just a huge trash brush here and just do a gigantic application of thinned Noir Black, because Sauron's armor is black, and if we're going to do OSL coming from the big flame hand, it's going to be very easy if we keep everything very dark and contrasty. So that should be our main goal here, and it really shouldn't be too hard to pull off. Back of my cape is pockmarked. Man, I like sanded this thing down a lot too, but like I said, this was different resin than I'm using now, and I only did like a few prints with it, and I just was not happy with the results, so obviously I continued to search around for better options. But I did my zenithal coming from the direction of the flame, and that should help us out a little bit too. Thin enough, right, to where it's covering or blending in with the shadows that exist from the zenithal application, and then leaving us the highlighted sharper edges from the rest of the body. If it doesn't really that much, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but anything to speed it up. Okay. I figured these two would be easy to do at the same time. I was going to do Aragorn and Boromir, right, and we had talked about that. But one, I want something a little bit more visually interesting, and two, I don't want to get bogged down like we did with the Sam and Frodo and have it extend beyond 2 sessions. So to kind of cut away from that or prevent that issue, I figure, hey, let's do one that's really dark with just minimal OSL, right? Which is like this guy. And then something that is more, not like a difficult paint, but just a completely different material and sort of a standalone, which Gollum is. So I feel like they should work out pretty well. Yeah, I had like delamination happen with this resin at the top of this head, so I had to like try and sand it down. It was really just a huge, not fun time. And since I don't have another 5 hours to print one of these immediately, that's what we're dealing with. But yeah, it's not great, so best I can do for now. Okay, but we'll go a little bit darker here on the face. Does this Sauron have the ring on? Not that I can tell. So the answer is no, I suppose. Alright, so we're gonna let that dry. He's gonna go live over here for a minute. And then let me look up Gollum again here. Because I looked up Sauron just to double check, like, yeah, everything he's wearing is black. So, there you go. And then, couldn't see my keyboard from the glare. Okay, so depending on the setting, Gollum's skin kind of reflects his environment, and since he has a fishy, you know, I feel like this is probably cave Gollum over here. So we're going to mix phthalo green and some noir black, and honestly, I'm putting it directly into the wash consistency that we just did with Sauron. And this is going to go all over his body. And we will just build up all of his colors using a skin tone mixed in. And it should give us that like very pale sort of bluish greenish tint from like a cave environment. And then we'll be able to do things like his knuckles or his knee, parts of his face with warmer, like more orangey tones as we highlight, and it will just contrast out even better. So for this, right, it's more of an environmental idea than anything else. Which, if you think about, the Sauron and how he is all going to be pretty much black, other than like where we put in the reflections of his summoned flame or whatever. With this, it is similar, right? Because you are like essentially building off the same idea for both, but it's just a big variance in color and the application of that color. Okay, so none of this also needs to have like really, really good coverage. We just need to get the base tones in. And I'm going to take the same color, I'm going to add a full 2 brushes full of clear blue, and then that is going to go over the fish, mixing it into the same tone. That's going to go over the fish and the base. So you can throw water onto the fish too if you want some of those edges to show a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to continue to let that dry. It's funny, both of them are like 2 big applications, but you can see, right, it's still going to be drying a bit more clear because it is a clear pigment. Sauron, still drying. But I am pleased. From a distance, I think it looks pretty good. So, And you can tell this print's way cleaner because it was out of the same run as the secondary run that I did with this resin test, so... Yeah, I think because it was like Sauron, the Witch King, Gollum, Gimli, and I think both Aragorn and Boromir were all from the same one. Didn't work out so great. These two were the next, and obviously you can see super clean. But now what's funny too is the resin that I use renders like insanely faster. Oh, you know what's cool? I got flecks of black paint all over Sam from doing him. Oh my god. Alright, well, we're gonna put those two sad boys over there since one of them just got ruined. But it's fine. Everything's fine. You know, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's not for anybody. Right? Oh my god. You gotta love ruining something. Very cool. Very cool. Sauron corrupts everything. That's a good way to put that. Sam's Gardener. I mean, yeah, we could have done, like, Battle Hardened Sam, right? Okay. So, the flame is still lighting everything relatively well, but it isn't too crazy. Gosh, cleaning my airbrush is going to be a literal nightmare. As long as it doesn't unclog itself right now, we're going to be okay. If it magically unclogs itself, that's going to be the worst thing that could happen today. But I'm risking it. I know for a while, right, anytime I grab my airbrush, I always keep saying, like, I need to do a deep clean, I need to do a deep clean. Never did. And now I have an airbrush that doesn't even have a needle in it. It's full of cleaner, and look, nothing came out. So, don't do that. Luckily, it's my Iwata, so... It's not like the Vex or the Sotar that literally are nightmares to work with. Okay. Alright, so he is almost done. Really, we're just waiting on everything to dry. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game here. But as long as we can get... So, we could focus in on a couple things with these and then, like, leave one for next time, right? Because we are always going to have kind of like 2 sessions per. Now, the one nice thing with Sauron is that, you know, we're only going to be focusing on edge reflections, which is pretty methodical, right? And I can be pretty quick about that. So I'm thinking he may be our next time focus. So today, this boyo right here may be the star of the show. So let me very dangerously use my airbrush. Oh, no. Okay. I hit it, and it's sort of declogged itself, so I'm glad I didn't do that immediately. Just super humid up here today. I'm kind of like mad because my neighbor's tree behind our house is growing like insanely rapidly to where it is almost covering our backyard. So now I'm like desperately trying to figure out where to put the garden. But all the weather we've had, right? It's been super humid, a lot of moisture. Everything's growing like crazy. But, alright, so you can see that definitely helped dry things a lot, and it should be fine to work with. Did the storms reach up that far? Yeah, we had, like, the first round that went through, with, like, all of the tornadoes and stuff in Texas. That one missed up here, but then the second round made its way through, like, around midnight, 1 a.m. And that's where it hit up here. So, okay. So, we've got our really dark... Should we just... I feel like I need a new area here. Here we go. So, I'm going to take... equal parts phthalo green. Noir black. How do you know they're equal parts? Well, you're just, like, literally aiming for the same amount of paint there. Cool. And then next to the white, I'm going to put... much more skin tone. Mix these two. drag some over here. I just feel like I'm out of space on this palette already, but we'll make it work. Let's move it down. Okay. Brush full of skin tone. Mix that. It should be a dark gray-ish color. Greenish gray. Like, you get it. You get it. Still phthalo green, but not really. Alright. And this color, we're not going to be applying it to like everything at once, but instead we'll use it on anything where it's already darker. So, this is perfect. So starting at right about the bicep height, I'm just going to start going from the tops of muscles down. Oh yeah, it's going to work great. Again, this is very similar to what we just did with Frodo's sword, right? Where when we were starting the OSL, you want to start with a color that is extremely similar, right, to the base color beneath, and that way you know you can layer it successfully without freaking out too much. It also helps you not go too far into your highlight too quickly. Now that on the face, I'm not too concerned with this color because we're going to be doing more detail work right on the face in general, like we typically have done with the others. I will do sort of halfway up this muscle here, and then everything else across the back will just be coming from below-ish. Down the side, on the leg here, side of the thigh, and a little bit on the back. Alright, moving over. And the idea here too, right, is that I want to be able to use the zenithal. And so it doesn't make sense if we were to immediately go cover it. So that's why I'm kind of like bridging the gap between the darkest color and then where the zenithal is really starting to show through with that sort of well, it's really the phthalo green, right, that gives it that kind of like brighter tealish color. So that's how I'm using that to guide us. Okay, and then where, so all of that underneath his stomach and the abs and everything, like that is going to be as dark as it is now, right? So like I am thinking about our overall contrast and how that's going to affect everything else, and I'm pretty happy with that. So now I can take a brush full of the skin tone, mix it into what we were just doing, and now this color will finally start to act as sort of your highlight. And then we do need just like straight up phthalo green out here as well. So as we continue to highlight up, right, I can keep adding a little bit. And I'm going to do a little brush tip full of the phthalo green. So now you should have a nice lighter grayish green than we had before. You see it right there. I'm just going to start on the exact muscle we started on last time. This actually needs to be thinner. It's not there. There we go. It wasn't at that like taperable consistency. Bringing the highlight back up to the top of the wrist. And yeah, I'm imagining our scene here is him being in a cave, right? A very dimly lit place. He's probably wet from going after a fish in a cave pond, right? So the skin will be very glossy once we start working with our brighter colors the further up the body we go. You can see I am taking this color up now to that zenithal area where it is the very light phthalo green showing through. Because now that we have our contrast structure, I can feel a little bit more confident working our way up the body. Onto the hand. I'm going to do the entire top of the hand with this color, just a complete application. And then the front knuckles. We are going to need something going down this side here, so I'm going to mix this with a little bit darker color. That did nothing. This one? There we go. I just didn't need that to be so dark. Okay. Up across these back muscles that we haven't touched yet. Okay. Even though it is a darker color, right? I am still attempting a bit of a glaze. It is still thin. Tapering the brush in here. You know, this actually would be reflective in the middle, so I'm just going to go ahead and fill that in. Then the tramp stamp region here. If Gollum had a tramp stamp, what would it say? Would it say "My Precious"? I have a feeling like it would. Daddy's girl. Taking that darker color here a little bit further. The first highlight tone. Only kind of structure the length of the leg there a little bit more. Take that same color here and do the top. Well, we need to do the thumb, but the tops of these muscles here on the thigh on the inside, because it will be darker, but I just needed it to transition correctly across. There you go. The foot. Foot reflection is going to start pretty much underneath the ankle there. Go down to the outside of the ball of the foot and then the tops of the toots. Okay. Top of the fish arm here. Okay, ooh, almost dropped him. Alright, the leg. Down to the foot. Top of the foot completely. What happened there? What is that? What happened? It's like one random spot. You got nothing. How does that work? Okay. Alright, so now we can use the same color moving into the face. So we do need to be a little bit more conscious of what we're doing. Thin this out a little bit. It's already very thin. I'm just going to start around the cheeks, all that good stuff. Now this facial structure should be super easy to paint just because it's so exaggerated. Again, today we're working on R&E Studio sculpts. They're available on my website if you like Lord of the Rings stuff. If you joined late, we finished up Frodo's sword, and we're now working on cave life Gollum here. That's why we've gone with the darker palette as we begin to build everything up. Rather than his super pale flesh, I'm going to go with this like cave setting. Caveman Gollum. Looking at this sculpt a lot closer too, he is very, very monstery, like kind of like a vampire or something. It feels like. Which, I mean, arguable, right? Because I kind of feel like the ring was vampiring off of him in a way, and he like thirsts for the ring. Kind of works out. There's a slight indent on the bottom side of the jaw of the cheek there, so I'll go ahead and paint that in. This side it exists a little bit, but I'll just go in with a darker color. Soften out the shadow on the cheek there. Okay. Back to the bright tone. Top of the head. Tops of the ears. And then back to the darker color that we used previously to taper in to the deepest shadow. Okay. So we're doing good. So deeper into the body, right? That is all darker. Lighting is coming from above. Okay. So, move over here. Really quickly. Alright. Skin tone. And I kind of want to like, alright, let's test something out. So if I do skin tone plus just phthalo green 50/50, I do like what I see. So we may actually jump up to this tone and just do it all very carefully. So I'm going to get some water in there. So 50/50 tan skin with our phthalo. We'll start on our same muscle here and see just how bright we went. Because whatever color we put on top of this, I definitely want it to be like just skin tone. Now I don't think that was a huge jump, which is fine. I'm gonna add a little bit, just a tip of the skin tone into this to give it more pigment. Same thinness, right? Just a little bit more pigment. All right, let's test it out. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Something about that bright. Okay. And this will be our, pretty much our final highlight, right? Until it converts over to being skin. So kind of our like final environmental highlight. Is that a thing? Can we make that a thing? Down here, right up at the wrist. Under the fingers. I guess we gotta do the bottom, right? As we get to these brighter highlights too, I am going to be paying way more attention to the volumes in the arms and everything, or like any of the muscles. So, you know, this is like a cylinder, so the reflection is going down the front center, not like the sides or anything. So that's where that highlight's getting placed. Here on this arm, we've got a couple areas where the light's going to hit first. So right down that edge, and then the front arc right across that middle line, kind of off the side of his mouth. And that will continue on to this portion as it moves its way around the shoulder and then the very top of that muscle. So there should be a bit of a dark color right before you get to the very top there, and you can see that as we continue to build it in. Sanity here. And this one, completely the top down. The light isn't going to be reflecting the same on that volume as it is the others, just because of the angle. And then coming in onto the back, starting our highlights. This actually should be highlighted right here, sorry. Right between those muscles where they connect. There we go. Right down the center of the back should be bright. And then tramp stamp area. Okay. Tops of the thigh here. Top of the calf. A little bit of the knee. And then the ankle, heel. Top of the foot. Top of the glute. Down the thigh a little bit. Under the feet. Okay. I'm gonna hit right where his elbow crease is on that part of the thigh, knee area. That should be a little bit brighter because the light could be hitting like from the front. You don't necessarily know. Kind of like we were talking about with Frodo's OSL, right? Sometimes you need to be a little bit more illustrative with your stuff just so that it kind of sells your depth a little bit better. Okay, shoulder. Like a little speck of something here. Inside of the forearm. Up to the wrist. Okay. Tops all these fingers. Nails included. Into the face, pretty much everything we did previously, except like the lowest shadows. pretty much ignoring, right, like the bottom of the jaws, things like that. Anywhere we went back last time, sort of with more subtle work. Not touching it this time around. And then finally, big old blopper right on top of the head. And then getting all the paint off the brush so I can taper it like a true crazy person. That's not being ableist, that's a pure description. Okay, that's it. Hey. You gotta like it when it works. I'm just doing like a swirling motion. There we go. Alright, so now we are ready for our skin tone highlight. Which should be fun, right? Because that's where we're going to be really paying attention to like all of the volumes as much as we can. But what's cool, right? Like doing the lighting so drastically differently than what we had done previously is always fun. But still sort of the same level of saturation. Just way more contrast. Let me see what this message was that somebody sent me here real quick. Oh, Lawrence, you gotta dust them shelves, bro. You gotta dust them shelves. My lawyer sent me an image really quick. Hold up. How do I do this? Open a new tab. No, new window. There we go. And then how can I show you this? Definitely not that window. Got a million things open. Hold up. Wait a minute. There we go. There it is. Oh boy. How do I shrink him, Jim? No, I'm clicking the wrong thing. Oh my god, you guys. It's not going like... Oh, anyway, I sent him that. There it is on his shelf. There we go. There we go. Alright, there you go. See, I said it's right next to a Vault Tech. Cool. But I told him he's got to dust that. Look, it looks terrible. But anyway. Let's see, he just replied. Let's see what he says. He said, I thought that too after I sent the photo. Well, I'm glad you're on the same page. Alright, so I'm going to get a new palette sheet. But that's cool. I always enjoy seeing things in the wild that I've painted. You know what's wild? So like I had hundreds of commission clients, and especially whenever I had back when I was still doing that and I did like board games a lot. What was funny was like, you know, I'm doing commissions for people that are getting board games done, and then I would like as soon as they got the stuff, I would never see it again. So like only one time out of hundreds of clients did I ever have a photo sent to me of like, hey, look, here we are having a game night with all the stuff you painted. I always thought that was so funny. Once it gets there, it's just gone. Alright, so now I'm just going straight up with the skin tone. We will see how bad of an idea this is, or not. I kind of want to start on the face because we know that's going to be brightest anyway. So here we go. Very gently going in. Hey, I think that'll work. Yeah, I saw that one lady's photo of what she painted for you. I wish she just didn't edit the photo so much, right? Like, yeah, it looks cool, but It's like very obvious that's not what the miniature looks like. Based on how much editing was done with the levels of blackness on it, but I'm sure it looks great. It would just drive, like, the KDM people especially, like, there's that Lorenzo Sasso guy, and, like, everything he uploads is insanely edited in terms of, like, increasing the amount of black. And the last time he uploaded, I actually said something about it, and I was like, hey, you know, it looks cool if you just, like, didn't edit it as much. And he doesn't speak English as his first language, so a lot of it got lost in translation, but he was like, well, I definitely did edit it, but so that it looks like how it looks in real life. And I'm like, okay. Okay, dude. You knew you were good. Yeah, dude. I mean, that guy literally edits the hell out of everything he does. But yeah, he just kept being like, I do, but barely. I'm like, uh-huh. Okay, buddy. Okay. Good luck. Alright, so you can see what we're doing here, right? We're just going a lot brighter. It actually is kind of almost like a metal reflection that I'm doing. Again, paying attention to all of our edges first and anywhere where the volume is getting the most highlight. So like the top of the brow. It's going to go across and then down down the side a little bit here. Be a reflection. Lorenzo Sasso, photo editing service. But at least he admitted it a little bit, right? I mean, there are a lot of people out there that are very delusional and just, like, lie about it. But he sort of admitted that he does it, so fair enough. Okay. Now then I'm going to separate the lip here. We haven't done that previously, so I'm separating the lip, then highlighting the rest of the jaw around it, and then the chin. So I've got sort of 3 shapes there now, where previously we had nothing. Where are we on time? Oh, we're doing okay. Do the lip. Okay. We got the top fold to his eyelid here. I'm gonna do just the top. Right there. I feel like he looks real spooky right now. Spooky Gollum. It's one of the new GW vampires, right? That's what we're dealing with. Even though I like all those sculpts, there's so many, God, you know, the Warhammer community is so trash. But, because it's just so negative, people hate, like, everything they release, but also want it at the same time. It's, like, so funny. But, I like all the new vampires they're putting out. I think they look really nice. Especially the chick with the dogs. The, like, Eastern European looking chick. I forget what they called her. The first something. And I know, right, obviously, vampires have all kinds of, well, not necessarily like vampires, right, but like things that are essentially in the vampire camp do have the lore of being able to shapeshift into dogs and wolves, right, but I kind of would have I would have thought it to be a little bit funnier if she was like a crazy cat lady. I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Because then I would have justified buying a miniature I don't need. which let's be honest is like all of them. So I can't wait for the Bones Kickstarter stuff to get here just so I can sell it. I bought it being like, hey, I can't wait to paint all this stuff. Now I'm like, I'm gonna sell it the second it gets to my house. So let's go. What's funny is Reaper Collins commented, like, we were talking the last time we all spoke together, and he was like, if you're smart and you spent a lot of money on that Kickstarter, the best thing you can do is sell it because it's going to take them so long to get any of it out to retail. So take it from an employee. The smartest thing to do is sell it. This brow line here is very dominant, so it's going to get a full highlight across and then down. And then same right there, above it. It doesn't make sense yet. Just give me a second to start to fill in the gaps here. Okay, back into the other. I guess we gotta do this side, right? Okay. Top eyelid, bottom eyelid. Yeah, I saw that they're like literally just bailing on Australia. Because yeah, the price is gonna go up. You're not gonna get the same promotional offers. Like, all right. And then they're losing a ton of business in the EU because of the Kickstarter as well. So I mean, hey, actions speak louder than words, right? It's funny, I have somebody messaging me right now about their order that they just got and how they love the new resin. Which is not the resin I'm using now, like I've said, if you joined late. Yeah, if you keep doing international order, well, it's funny, like, I don't ever do international orders, right? But Sibling is a Patreon person, but his deal is he knows if he puts in orders, he gets painted miniatures as a part of his surprise. So let me see. Okay. Alright, back to the skin here. Tops of the ears. I do kind of want to trail it down the side of the cheek here, just like that, probably. Okay, so we've got all of that. This kind of needs to be a little bit brighter here. There we go. Okay, and then the scariest part of the whole thing today is going to be me trying to glaze and taper the main forehead highlight. Please, please, please be nice. Please be nice. Please be nice to me. I would love to just airbrush this instead, but I can't, so please be nice. Okay, not that great. We'll let it dry, we'll do it again. The problem is the angle that they did the auto orientation, literally like the top of his head is at like a 45-degree angle, so it's literally a print line magnet. More water. I always feel like what's his name, Ed, the dude from Men in Black, where he's like, water, sugar, water. All right, cool. So that'll work. I can taper into that just fine. What I don't want to do is cause any unexpected tea staining, so I'm dancing with the devil here. I haven't announced anything. I'll be announcing it tomorrow, but I am going to start doing a paint-along every first Friday for Crippled God Foundry. They're a Patreon sculptor. They reached out to me to work with me in some way, and so we worked out a dealio. I'm going to be offering their sculpts in the shop, and we will do a full start-to-finish paint-along on Fridays whenever they have their new releases. So, always love it when a company, you know, wants to do something. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I have a print going right now, and depending on how it turns out will determine what exactly I'm going to be painting. But they have a part of their welcome pack has a beholder, and so we may be painting up the beholder, and then this month's release is all like city guard jailers, so we may end up working on those. But all right, I'm extremely pleased with our cave skin tone Gollum here. So let me just double check and see what this even looks like. I can't see like on my... Okay, cool, yeah. Let me bounce this down. I need more skin though, and then we're just gonna slam through as much as we can on the body. I just had the feeling working on something like him would make more sense since we already were kind of cutting into our like 2-session limit on the Frodo and everything. So I am just pleased with what we're seeing so far. All right, so now we are going to be paying attention to our volumes here. So you can see that curved circular highlight, or rather like an arched highlight, continuing along to the front of the shoulder, like so. I'm gonna let that dry. Very thin. I remixed this too thin. Let me see if I can fix that. There we go. Remember, these minis are for sale on the shop. If you are a patron, obviously hold off until I do the update on purchases, so you guys can get your monthly coupon. But I know I did have quite a few people make some Lord of the Rings mini purchases. And finally, Greg from 3D Printing Pro went back through. The people at R&E paid him to go and do the like the set of the Lord of the Rings minis, and his pre-supports are always amazing. So like even Gollum here is pretty clean, and like the Sam and the Frodo are pretty clean, because those I had to support myself, right? Like they didn't come with pre-supports. So I do an okay job depending. Obviously larger miniatures require more supports, so you will run into some pockmarks and some issues here and there depending on the way it looks. But now that he did it, those files are going to be really clean and you know, easy to paint up, not really having damage or anything like that. So very happy about that. He like just finished it last week, so very recent update. Do a little elbow highlight. Okay. Moving on to the hand. Right up on the wrist, and then tapering into the wrist. Like so. That looks pretty good, huh? Not mad at that. I'm sure this is one of those paint jobs where when I start it, people are like, I don't know where this is going, but hopefully now a little bit more obvious. I'm realizing I didn't do like anything on that side. Let me get some phthalo green here. let's continue up. So this highlight will go down, bridging the 3 muscles, and then across the top in a little bit of an arc, like that, and then down the back side, connecting again to the front. This muscle, we're going to go through the crease, and then in an arc, across the top, like that. This then arches across down to the center, and that is where this highlight lives happily as can be. So you'll notice, right, all of these highlights, like the volume highlight, they all kind of connect, they all kind of go the same direction. And then underneath. Right down the middle. It's showing somebody else on Twitch? Let me see. Maybe it is. Maybe I am. Maybe I am some guy. Let's see. Oh no, there I am. Yeah, it's weird. Who knows? I'm getting thrown under the bus. PlayStation algorithm. How are you doing, Sean? Are you not streaming? You literally, like, it's non-stop for you. Okay, yeah, 4:30. Yeah, I was gonna say, I know you're always on early, which I think is smart. You get a more international audience, too, that way. Oh, too bright. Just dab the paint off, there you go. Slide into here. Okay. Similar to the other side, we're going to have our curved highlight there. Paint is way too thin, so I'm going to do this a few times. Yeah, I've liked, now that I've switched over to after 4 o'clock, I feel like, I mean, well, one, I'm able to, you know, people that typically could never watch previously are able to, but it's always funny, too, because I, like, back when I used to stream at 2, like, all the time, constantly, every, like, 6 months, I would make sure, that's not constantly, but you get the idea. I would always ask. I'd say, hey, like, what streaming time works best for you, and when, like, should I change it, whatever. And people every time would say the 2 o'clock time was best, but I would always have better results during different time periods. So the feedback was always so strange. But and then when Reaper did the show with me, they were like, well, let's just do 2 because you already streamed then, people know to look for you. I'm like, okay. But now that I'm later in the day, it's easier. I also feel like I'm not like wasting my day. That was also a big thing, like trying to get orders out the door was like, okay, well, if I have something in the middle of the day and it's at 2, then that's really not going to leave me time, right, to get to the post office by 5. So now if I'm trying to just get everything done by 4 o'clock, that's easier to manage rather than like, well, middle of the day, my day's over. That was always hard to try and figure out. Makes my life a little bit easier. Okay, and then I'm just going to do a highlight across the top of the forearm here, like so. Down a little bit. Today we are doing Cave Golem. Okay, so we're right here, so I need a little bit brighter right on the inside there. Top of the hand. Oh, yeah, I mean, one of the dumbest things I ever did was I asked for feedback on stuff at one point, like maybe 2 years ago. And I was like, yeah, you know, if you give me some feedback on ideas that you want, I'm gonna like give stuff away based on the comments on this post, right? So like, all these people came out of the woodwork being like, I want to see this, I want to see this, I really like this kind of content, like all of it was bullshit. None of it mattered, right? Like, as soon as anything is tied to a giveaway, it's fake. Like, it is just, you will not get genuine results at all. But it was, I like desperately needed feedback, right? Because I was kind of like just in a slump of growing the business, which, you know, now I'm in a reverse slump. Or maybe not. No, I'm like, I am in a slump. I guess pandemic, everything's just like dying slowly, but I learned that lesson. I was like, dude, none of this feedback actually matters because people just wanted free stuff. So I feel like this does need a little bit of a highlight back here, because it is closer than the thighs. There you go, right? We need it to be a little bit brighter than the thigh and the foot, even though the foot kind of should be brighter on the inside, but it'll work itself out. Okay. Now then, let's move over here. Shin. Now these highlights are going to be very minimal until we get back to like the top of the foot. Yeah, I mean, things could always be better, but obviously whatever you want to do is working for you, right? So I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I was looking at what was it? Oh, it was when you shared the Pegasus, right? And I was like, man, you know, Sean paints like he has a color palette that he sticks to that he likes, and obviously you vary it, right? But you know, I'm like, he literally does, like, he gets to do exactly what he wants to do when he's streaming, and it obviously works. Like, I think that's kind of what's so funny is, like, it just seems like the idea of what people would consider, like, if you compare yourself to another streamer who's trying to do, like, competition level painting every single time, and, like, none of this has anything to do with, like, the merit of your painting, right? So, like, don't misinterpret me. But you're able to, like, have, yeah, how dare you stick me in a box? But you know you do that, right? Like, you had, like, that's what's interesting about it, is that it's kind of like you are able to just have fun doing what you're doing, and that is what builds the success, rather than trying to yeah, drinks magenta paint, rather than trying to, like, do something else. I don't know, it's very refreshing anytime I see you share stuff, because I'm like, yeah, literally, like, you will always do what you want and it seems to work just fine, and that's always a very reassuring thing, because there are too many people trying to be something that they're not, to no success. So, alright, so I'm gonna start working on the tramp stamp area, and thank you for the compliment about the paint job. We're a little bit behind schedule where I would like to be, so next time we're going to be working on Sauron, but that paint job should be pretty simple, just because he, like, literally everything he's wearing is black, and I'll show the mini here in just one second. So everything he's wearing is black, like black armor, black cloak, whatever, and then he has OSL. So next time it's just going to be us building in edge work and then doing the glow. So, I mean, I think in 2 hours we can probably get that done. And then today we had to sit and finish Frodo here. So Frodo was like the first, I don't really know how many minutes, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then looking at, like, Gollum images, right, from the films and everything, it was like, well, he either has super pale skin, or it's the scenes from when he was in the cave, right? And I was like, well, why don't we, because he's holding the fish, why don't we just assume it's like a cave fish or something, and he is in that very low light. And so, yeah, only colors that we've used have been black, and then phthalo green, and a skin tone, and that's it. So I'm definitely happy with where we're at. Not at, like, other than using brain power, right, so to speak, to figure out where to put highlights, hasn't been too bad. And he's not wearing a lot of different materials or anything like that, so that's kind of why I thought, well, hey, if I'm already losing time on finishing up Frodo, then I should start two new paint jobs that, like, aren't super involved, but still entertaining, so I think it's worked out. So on Thursday, we'll be trying to finish these up. He's beautiful. I also just really like this sculpt. I think, you know, R&E Studio has done a really good job with all of their not Lord of the Rings minis. I just like the character in them. Obviously, he scaled up. This is a 150% scale versus, like, the normal standard scale of the miniature. Otherwise, he'd be, like, that big. Really not too... I mean, this is a big mini, right? But someone ordered him over the last few days, and I obviously processed the order and the print and everything, and it looks fine. So it wouldn't be too hard. You don't, like, lose any of the magic, right, in the sculpt itself. So. But not bad. So really, Thursday what we'll do is we will fishify that fish relatively quickly. We will give him some crazy buggy eyes, and honestly, like, we do have an opportunity to do some crazy, like, reflection stuff in his eyes, so in honor of Sean, we'll do, like, some magenta and stuff. But we'll do fishy, finish his face, and then his loincloth, and that's it. So really not too bad. But thanks for hanging out today as we work on that. And that is, I think, all we're gonna do, because it's right at 6 o'clock. But so if I back this out and we pretend like, whoa, look at the absence of brush lines or brush strokes, right? My airbrush, I mentioned earlier, right, is super out of commission right now. It is crazy clogged. I have been a bad airbrush parent. So I was dealing with that earlier today. Otherwise, I probably would have airbrushed a little bit of this, but not bad for all brushwork. I need to highlight. It's driving me crazy. I'm going back in a little bit here on the side of the arm. It's a little bit too dark. There we go. Hey, you've been here the whole time? Did I miss you say hello? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But not bad. So far, doing our Lord of the Rings series. We're doing good. Ignore the splotches of... You can't really see it, okay. Ignore the splotches on Sam. Frodo, definitely happy with, though. I think the OSL looks good. And Cave Golem, super rad. So, but that's it. Thanks so much. Tomorrow we will be working more on the Big Orc Boy on Patreon, so make sure you are around for that if you are able. We're going to be starting... I think I said we were going to do the medals next time. So we're working on him. I might stream tomorrow in the middle of the day, but probably not. I need to get orders out tomorrow, so that's obvious. That always takes me like 5+ hours and drives me crazy. So we're gonna try and do that. Thursday, more Gollum, more Sauron. Friday, I don't know, dude. Saturday, whatever. That's it. But thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you. Adios, goodbye, and all those things. Hope you find $20 in your pocket.